Good morning. Good morning. Today, this car is getting its built T-case, finally. But first, we need to drive to the shop. Before that, we need to see what our battery voltage is at. Last night when I parked the car, we were at 12 volts. And the reason I'm checking this is because we've had a massive draw coming from the Haltech on the battery system. This morning it's at 11.8. Is that sufficient? I think we should be good. Let's do a cold start for the boys. Now, of course, I'm not the biggest fan of driving this car in the rain with no hood and whatnot, but I was not expecting, and they were not predicting for it to rain this much. It is what it is. At the end of the day, it is a car. Obviously, we did put a lot of time and energy and money into it, but if I'm ever gonna start enjoying it, I gotta just get over the fear of getting it a little bit wet, you know? This little girl warm up for a minute, get them coolant temps up, oil temps up, and we can head them on out. I'm excited for today. Should be a nice and simple day. Pull out the old T-case, new T-case goes in, we'll be good to go. Wonder what my neighbors think. They probably like it. Windows up, it's really not that much louder than it was before. I feel like the FK8 is very well like sound deadened, you know. I still hear the trans over the exhaust for sure. The straight cuts in the trans, very loud. It's a good loud though, it's a race car type of loud. But if you want to hear a good old exhaust note, and obviously more gear noise, you roll down the window. You know how much time I would have saved if I just did a hood dump from the start? Hours, weeks. And then the cool thing is, if you guys remember, 5th gear, it's stock. Stock gears, stock helical gears. It's so quiet. Truth be told, I could take this thing on a road trip and not get annoyed of the sound. Like, I can have an actual conversation in the car. Now, of course, it's louder than a stock Type R, but it's to be expected. It's a little bit built. Here is the T-case that this car is being gifted. This is the Holy Grail. This is the Mac Daddy. This is the GOAT. This is as good as you can get for a K-Series T-case. I know I've gone through it before, but real quick. PPG transfer gear, PPG shaft, PPG hypoids, drag cartel billet case. There's nothing else we can do to this transfer case to make it better. This little guy right here, with assembly, like $5,500, if I'm not mistaken. It was a lot of money. Let's put it in the car. First thing we need to do is drain out the gear oil out of the transmission. They do share, it's not like an Evo where it's separate. They do share gear oils. So let's pull the plug, get it drained out. Very easy to get to, just a 17 mil plug right here. Unfortunately, it does get a little bit of oil on our subframe and wiring and whatnot, but it's not like every day we're draining our gear oil, so I don't really care. Now, thankfully, Hondas are the easiest, probably the easiest car in the world to remove a T-case on if you don't do what I did and put an exhaust next to it. All you have to do, 4 bolts for the drive shaft, 4 bolts holding the T-case to the transmission, and it comes out. So to start, we need to pull this exhaust off, at least this little downpipe section right here. To be completely honest, I don't ever plan on going back to a full exhaust on this car. It's really a shame because it obviously costed a lot of money in materials, and time. But at the same time, I also got a lot of experience with TIG welding stainless. That was my first ever stainless TIG project, and it turned out really, really good. But I just don't like how it sounds. So hood exit it is. This piece right here was definitely the trickiest part of the exhaust. If anyone's building an all-wheel drive Type R with a K24 and you need exhaust, hit me up. So we just got 4 12mm bolts for the drive shaft. These guys are, of course, Loctite in. And you cannot get a ratcheting wrench on them, so it just takes a minute to get these guys out. With the 4 T-case bolts removed, drive shaft removed, and the exhaust out of the way, T-case should pop out. Might need a little bit of persuasion from a prying utensil. And just like that, our transfer case is removed. So here's a little side by side. Now, this one isn't completely factory. Factory, you would have this transfer gear right here is a helical gear, but being that we have the straight cut transfer in the trans, I had to put the stock T case in with this straight cut gear here. Check out how beautiful this T case is. Gotta love the billet housing. Well, I don't see a sense in lollygagging around. Let's get this little built girl in the car. Okay. Line up the gears, and she slides on in. Dang, that thing's beautiful. Too bad you can't see it from the top side. T-case is back in the car. Everything is torqued down properly. Drive shaft bolts are Loctited in, so they do not fall out like they did on the EM1 and scatter the T-case. All this thing needs is some gear oil, but before that, check this out. Our not very nice rear mount has left the chat. That thing is extremely, extremely floppy, and I don't like that. So I found a solid, I think it's a Hasport rear mount, and that'll definitely take care of that. It may add some vibration to the car, but I would rather have a little bit more vibration, being a race car, of course, than a motor that when you're doing a pull, it goes flop, flop, flop. So we gotta wait for that to come in. As always, the easiest way to add gear oil is just pull out a sensor on the top of the transmission. This here is the reverse sensor. Car only needs it for the backup camera to work, which is quite nice that that works. Toss in a funnel. And my gear oil of choice with these synchros, with these gears, with this whole setup is the GM Synchrotech, or no, GM Synchromesh is what it's called. Now before we take this thing outside and go for a rip ski, I noticed this morning and last night after this car was all back together, she's only building 7-8 pounds of boost, which of course, that ain't enough boost. We should be on like 20 some pounds. So you can do one of two things. Just inject some air in, see if you got a boost leak. You can also do a smoke test. But being that it is quite a bit of boost escaping, I'm just gonna grab some compressed air, inject her into the system, and see if I can hear anything. Might need a different source. Let's do this here. I can't tell with just compressed air, so I'm just gonna do it right and hook up the smoke tester. Sorted a couple little things. We should be good to go. Let's go for a rip. Don't mind the smoke that just came out. It was just left over in the system from our smoke test. Let's go see if we got some boost back. We should be good there. And one of these days I need to just go ahead and see how this thing performs on a launch. I've done it one time before, but it's been a while. It's not gonna feel any different, sound any different, really perform any different with the new T-case. It should just be able to hold all the sauce. All right, friends, I'm gonna do one launch. I'm obviously a bit worried about that rear mount being completely shot. The bushings in there are completely toast, so the motor's gonna probably flop a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. A little nervous. Heavy car. She's a very heavy girl for a Honda. Well, boys, it's the rain. She just loves to spin. I did feel that motor flopping though, for sure. But in the dry, with a set of slicks that I got sitting back there for it, that are also for the Evo, and a not floppy rear motor mount, this thing is gonna be an absolute ripper, which is exciting. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up right here. I would link this T-case down below, but you know what, I'll just go ahead and link all the parts. If you wanna build it yourself, go ahead. It's very, very difficult to build yourself, being that you have pinion depths and all that jazz with a T-case. I would just recommend sending it out to somebody. That's what I did. $500 and it got built. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll be back tomorrow working most likely on the Evo 8.